Hello, and welcome to the Fanfiction Book Club podcast, a weekly podcast that explores the good, the bad, and the cringy of fanfiction. Hosted by me, Poppy, and my lovely co-hosts, SG.
Hey.
Ollie.
Hello.
And Tstan.
Hello.
Every month, we scour the internet to bring you 4 different fanfic reads, and our theme this month is Percy Jackson. Check out our website at fanfictionbookclub.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at fanfictionados for the full lineup of stories for the month and to connect with us on the web. Okay, so the fanfic we are discussing this week is The Missing Gods by Zodiacc on fanfiction.net. It was written, it was published on July 9th, 2017. It's got 24 chapters and 23,000 words, which is a little weird, weird ratio there. It's tagged as adventure and romance, and it's got a Percy-Annabeth, relationship in there. Oh, so this story, like I said, the chapter to word count ratio is kind of odd. So the chapters are really short. But let's just get into it. So it starts with a snowball fight. Percy gets hit in the head with the snowball by Grover. And then yep, that's it. That's what happens in the first chapter. Literally the first chapter is like maybe 100 words. It's not long.
Maybe.
Okay, so Percy and Annabeth are walking back to the cabin, and then Chiron, comes, and he's like, campers, they're at Camp Half-Blood, by the way. This is the first story we've wrote. This is the first story we read so far this month for Percy Jackson that is like canon. It's not an AU. It's like there's actually demigods here.
Yeah.
And they're at Half-Blood, so. Oh, you know what? I didn't read the description.
Was there a description?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll go for it.
Okay, so here we go. The description is, Percy and Annabeth receive some grave news and prepare for a quest to rescue the Big Three, but face several obstacles in their path to save them. To complete the prophecy and save the gods, how far will they have to go? Anyway, so Chiron announces to the campers, I have terrible news. And it turns out that all 3 of the big gods, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, have gone missing. And they left behind their, weapons. They're, the lightning bolt, the trident, and whatever Hades' weapon thing is. Something of darkness, I don't know. So then Percy and Annabeth go to an oracle, Rachel, who lives in a cave, and she gives them a prophecy saying that someone is going to die if they go on this quest. And they're like, well, time to go on the quest. Let's see. And then Hera shows up for a hot second, and she's like, I'm here to help you on your quest to save my husband. And he's like, no. And she's like, okay, fine, and leaves. That's pretty much all that happens there. And then they get on to Blackjack, who is a Pegasus that Percy can read its mind, apparently. Like I said, I don't know anything about Percy Jackson, so I'm like, sure. Great.
So Percy has the powers of his dad, Poseidon. I know I kept saying Zeus in the other episode. But he has the powers of Poseidon, which includes, mastery of water, and for whatever reason that includes chatting with horses. So that's a Poseidon has an affinity for horses thing, so that transferred over to Percy.
Weird. Okay. So they get on, okay, so this story moves so fast, and it's kind of bizarre. So it goes from them getting on Blackjack, going to Central Park, and then Blackjack leaving, and then one line later, there's a Hydra, just there, and I was like, okay, so then they have to, fight the Hydra, and they're in a lake, and, the lake is a gate to the underworld, and Percy defeats the Hydra somehow. He sends it towards the underworld, I think, and then Percy almost dies. The title of this chapter is I Almost Die, But What's New? So that pretty much sums it up. Annabeth saves him with some herb, ambrosia, and then they make their way to the Empire State Building. They're at Olympus. Hestia, the goddess Hestia, is there. She's really sick for some reason because I guess the gods are gone. And she's like, all of the gods' weapons are in this fire pit. And so Percy reaches in and grabs the Master Bolt and the Trident and the Helm of Darkness. That's what Hades' thing is. And so they grab it, and then Athena shows up, who is Annabeth's mother. The goddess Athena shows up and is like, hi, what you doing here? You're not going on this journey to die, daughter. Please don't die. And they are like, too bad, we're going, and then they leave. They jump out of the Olympus, I guess, on the 600th floor of the Empire State Building, which I looked it up, it only has 100 floors, so I'm assuming that the other 500 floors are Olympus.
Yeah. Good assumption, Poppy.
I'm like, that's not correct. Okay, great. So they jump off of the 600th floor, and they use the lightning bolt I thought that they were using it to slow their fall, but then they, get blasted somewhere. And then they're in this place for, 8 chapters. And
they don't explain what that place is.
For, they don't. It's they kind of explain it as almost heaven. It's they're in the atmosphere below heaven. But they're there.
Huh.
I know. They're there for a long time.
Yeah.
They don't move. They're like, all right, we just got really hurt. Let's rest. And so they rest. They wake up. There's, all the weapons are missing. And then this conjoined twins, Gemini, it turns out, the constellation Gemini, is there, and they feed them. And then they go to sleep again, and they wake up. And there's and then there's Capricorn, who's upset, and they get attacked by Capricorn, and then they go to sleep, and then they wake up, and there's another being there,
the angel guy?
No, not the angel guy, but there's another one that is like, hey, we're
oh, not Nike, but
I'm like Dikey. I don't
I used to say that
using context, and I'm like, that's
Dikey or Dyke. I don't know, but I mean, people know we're not trying to be offensive with it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna call her the goddess of justice. So the goddess of justice shows up and is like, you're stubborn and I'll follow your heart, I think. She really didn't add much to anything. And then they go to sleep again, and then they wake up, and someone else is there. Who else is there?
I thought it was just her.
Ganymede. The angel guy is there. Ganymede, and he, they, wake up and they're, on the stairs, almost going up to heaven. They're like, oh my god, we're dead. He's like, no, you're not. You're at my house. Come on, let's go. So that happens. It's, 5 chapters. They're in the same place. They don't move. And things just keep coming to them. It's really weird. But anyway, now they're in this, really big mansion of Ganymede, and they get fed and stuff, and he has all of the weapons, that they lost, and he's, bound to Zeus somehow, I don't know if he's in love with Zeus, or Zeus was in love with him at one point, and then Hera got jealous, and so Zeus made him this big mansion place to live, but yeah, he's there. He's apparently very handsome, and Percy and Annabeth are both like, whoa, he's attractive. What? Let's see. Oh god.
And then anyway, they eat and sleep at his place.
Yeah, they eat and sleep at his place. And then, let's see, Arky.
We need to have, the pronunciation guide for...
just say, some lady that worked for the evil people left a message.
Yeah, this person, Arky, related to Iris, is here and is here's a message, and the message is I look forward to meeting you. Come to my palace or face the consequences. Your father sends his greetings. And it's this is the guy who has my father. Ether? I'm pretty sure it's the Ether. And so they go, and oh no, so Percy has the scale that he got from the Capricorn, and a fish scale, and he's able to communicate with his father, and Poseidon's go to Olympus and get help, and he's no, and he's fine, I trust you guys, and then they leave, or then the message disappears, and then they go to wherever they're going. I don't know where they're going, actually. The place of where the ether is. And then Ganymede's in a battle, Annabeth's in a battle, Percy's in a battle with separate people. And then eventually Ganymede takes Percy and he's I'm gonna bind your heart with a star, and then that'll give you the power to defeat the ether, while Annabeth goes and gets the gods and saves them. They're he's basically the distraction. And so he's battling the ether, which is just this big blackness. There's not a physical form, I don't think, but he somehow is holding a sword. I don't know how that works. And then the ether's about to stab Percy, and Ganymede's no, and he jumps in front of Percy and he gets stabbed and he dies, and then Percy gets the ether in the star, which is apparently a heart, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at here, in my brain. And then Percy passes out, and then suddenly they're back. All of this happens in the last chapter, by the way, which, again, all these
last chapter is the longest chapter.
I know, but
they've started to cram it all in.
And I was he still hasn't defeated the whatever. And like, so anyway, he slashes him, and then he wakes up and he's back at Camp Half-Blood, and Annabeth is like, we made it, you did it, and Hera's there, and she's like, thanks, and then she leaves, and then they're like, yep, we saved them, yay, we did it. And then Poseidon, who it's been kind of built up this whole time, like, I can't wait to oh my god, my dad is has been captured, we gotta save him. And then Poseidon enters the cabin, he's like, hey Percy, and Percy's like, Dad! And that's it. That is hating each other. And then they're just like, alright, and then it ends with a feather floating in the air towards them, and they grab it, and it's like, and they stare at it, and they smile, and that's it. And I'm like, what's the feather? Is that from
I think it's from, didn't he have wings?
I guess, wings? But a lot of them had wings. So
yeah. Did he drink Red Bull and get wings? I don't know.
Oh gosh.
So the reason why it took me, oh my god, that was such a struggle, is I read this story this morning and I don't remember it. Like, it was so boring. Because
it's like a weird fever dream. Like, all this stuff just happens. Like, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. And I feel like the books have fast-paced moments to them, but there's like spots to breathe. This story had no place to breathe and like really retain what you were reading.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, oh my god, like, so much is happening, but I don't know what any of it means. And I was just like, oh my god, I could not focus on this story. And it was a lot. It was a lot and nothing. Like,
everything and nothing.
Yeah.
And every chapter was like a new character that they included, and then they were gone. Then the next chapter, and it's like you keep introducing all these new characters that I can't even pronounce the names, and I can't even remember who they are. What they served.
Like, until the second to last chapter, they were introducing new characters, and I'm like, okay, there's no more exposition is needed. Please, God, stop.
I have something to add to give Poppy a little bit of, I don't know, comfort.
Okay.
It's pronounced DK.
Thank God.
Okay.
It's DK and Nike.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm like, Nike.
Not Nike.
long E. The I is a long E.
DK.
DK.
That sounds cooler.
That's much better.
Also, I like how they pronounced it eggpan for however that was actually supposed to be said.
I didn't even try and figure out how the names were pronounced. I just skimmed right over them. Right? And I'm like, I don't think this author is deep enough in their writing that they're going to bring these people up again. No. So once they're out of the scene, I can just kind of forget about them.
One benefit of kind of knowing what Greek mythology is all about.
No, it's like, I know, and it's just so, okay, I have a question. So, they fought Capricorn, and they killed Capricorn. Does that mean that the Capricorn constellation no longer exists in the stock?
I don't know that they killed him.
I
don't think you can actually kill them.
You can't actually kill them, because they said he'll come back in a millennia. Like, all of these people that are, like, above the Earth level are supposedly immortal. Oh, and so, and even when Ganymede, quote-unquote, died, he just got stabbed in the chest and it hurt a lot. He wouldn't technically die.
Okay.
But Zeus...
So maybe that's what the feather meant, that he's still up there.
But Zeus gave him the power of mortality after he gave him the power of immortality once they released him. So he could just die.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so maybe it just took that long for that feather when he died to just come down to Camp Half-Blood. Because that's how wind patterns and gravity work.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
My question is, when Percy and Annabeth left Camp Half-Blood, they took the Pegasus, I don't remember, Blackjack. They took Blackjack took them to Central Park, where there was a monster waiting for them. Couldn't Blackjack send something and set them somewhere else? That first monster seemed very random.
It was very
like
random.
very random. And I don't remember in the book there just being random monsters everywhere. I thought like they were all purposeful.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ollie. Do you remember like the monster stuff? I feel like monsters weren't random. Like they had specific places.
Yeah.
And if they have specific places, why did Blackjack drop them off where the entrance to the underworld was, where that monster was hanging out?
Well,
like couldn't they have just like walked the other way in the park?
I don't know.
Not trip the monster sensors? I don't know. That just seemed very weird
like
and unnecessary.
Every mission, I feel like every mission that they go on, there's always an obstacle to get to that
there's like
place.
multiple
it's just
obstacles.
And the monsters just know where to be.
And it just made no sense. And why did that Capricorn like guy have a beef with them? He just like started fighting them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was just so random. And I don't remember, like, I know in the books that this kind of stuff happened, but I think that it was more purposeful than this fan fiction author is making it. But maybe it was as random as these stories are. I don't remember the actual books that well.
And like, also, why are like a bunch of kids trying to save a god? Like one of the biggest gods there are in
don't they have like lesser gods that can handle that stuff?
Are stronger than a demigod, I would think.
That is a YA novel problem. Like why
send the kids in to do the adults' work?
Yeah. Why in the first place was Percy Jackson the one to have to go save things, and why was Harry Potter the one that had to fight the Dark Wizard? You know,
yeah.
Why are that's just a YA novel thing, like.
Yeah.
But anyway, this story was a wild ride that I wanted to sleep through.
Yeah, it was kind of exhausting. It was like, you talk to someone who just keeps talking and they haven't taken a breath in 5 minutes. And you're like, whoa.
And you're just there nodding like, oh, like, what?
I don't know that I really processed anything you said, but I'm just trying to get this conversation over with so I can go somewhere else.
It felt like, and SG will understand this probably the best out of all of us.
Ooh.
It felt like one of those fetch quests when you first get started in an RPG.
Oh my god, yes. This
like,
was
go
so
talk to this
questy.
person, go talk to... Yeah.
And then, like, random people just, like, pop up in front of you, like, hey, I have some unwanted advice I want to give you.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of when I was reading this, is like, if this is a video game, I would have turned it off by now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so random how the gods will just, like, pop in randomly and, like, give unwanted advice. It just seemed very random how they did that. Like, why did, what's her name? DK? Why did DK even care? Why did she even care to tell them? Why didn't she just go deal with whatever herself or just let it be? Why her versus any other god? Why would it be the god of the goddess of justice?
I don't know. It's so weird.
It just seemed very random how the gods were put in there, and just like that.
Yeah. No, I remember.
That one girl was hanging out in I don't remember which goddess it was, but she was just hanging out in the throne room, keeping a fire going to protect Pessia, to protect those things, and then randomly Athena just walks in and she's like, "What are you guys doing?"
It's like, I don't know, I thought you were the gods of wisdom.
It like diminishes their place as goddesses and gods if they're just so quote unquote easily accessible and they just like pop in all the time. There's no mystery to them. It doesn't make them feel like gods and goddesses. It makes them feel like nagging adults.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, it's your weird aunt and uncle who live down the road and who now you have to occasionally talk to.
I guess so. I don't feel like that relationship was communicated well enough through the author's telling. Like, that's a really funny idea, and I think that comes off a bit better in the actual books, which I don't remember. Maybe it didn't. But in this retelling, in this fan fiction author's like telling of these characters' story in that canon universe, I didn't get that very much. And I didn't appreciate the way he was talking to Hera.
Yeah.
He lacked some respect there.
And it's like, I get it, Hera can be problematic sometimes.
Yeah, but she's your elder. Respect your elders.
Yeah, like, come on. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of stupid that it was like, Hera shows up and she's like, I can help you. And he's like, I don't want your help. And she's like, okay, fine. And then later on, Annabeth says something and she's like, Hera didn't tell you that? And he's like, no, I can't believe she didn't tell me that. It's like, you told her to leave. Like, what do you mean? She didn't tell you anything because you didn't want her to.
Yeah, and it was really weird. It seems like throughout the story, the author was trying to make it seem like they couldn't trust anybody. But everybody they ran into, they could trust. They could trust the Gemini travelers. They could trust Ganymede. They could trust DK. Or did I say that?
Yep.
DK. Mm-hmm. They could trust Hera if they listened to her, I'm sure. It was just very weird how they were trying to create this environment where it was these two characters against the world, like Percy and Annabeth. But it seemed like everyone was pretty helpful along the way.
Yeah.
And Ganymede even took a sword for him, so... And he was thinking that Ganymede was like, oh my god, he like combined me with a star. He framed me. He's trying to kill me. And then the guy like takes a sword for him and I'm like, what?
Yeah, he thought that for like 2 seconds. He was like, oh my god, he betrayed me. And then he was like, oh wait, never mind.
Yeah, that was very weird to even include because it was immediately debunked by Ganymede like stepping in front of the blade.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like attempts at creating intrigue and mystery in the story that just did not follow through in any way. I was really just like hoping that somebody would betray them or something just to make it interesting.
Yeah. How did you guys picture that final battle, like with the darkness? Because when Ganymede said he was going to like merge his heart with the star, I imagined him like just like hanging up Percy like on a star, like against it with his chest, just like there you go. And then like so he's just like hanging there. He's not like actually on the ground. And then he's just like swinging his sword wildly at nothing.
I was picturing, my brain gave me like Kingdom Hearts. I was like, this isn't right. I know this isn't right.
I just like imagined, you know how like when the Power Rangers put all their flight whatever things together and they make like a Power Rangers soy thing. I just imagined he was like just at the center of a giant energy mass.
Yeah.
Because they said like the stars make up constellations, so I thought like maybe he's like in a constellation form, which is just like a bunch of dots. I don't know. I have no idea, but he still had a sword. And I imagined when that what was it? Ether or who was he fighting?
Yeah. Ether.
I just imagined Ether as like, you know those kids that put a blanket over them and just like flail around? I just imagined it just like someone under a like a black star blanket just like flailing around with little lumps. So I couldn't really take it seriously because I was imagining like Power Ranger Percy versus the guy with a star blanket all over him.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it was entertaining. It just seemed so ridiculous the way the author wrote it that I just had to come up with a ridiculous vision to encompass what was happening.
Yeah.
No, this story is just so crazy. Like, things are happening and I'm just like, okay.
I'm just trying to read a fanfic.
And then it just ended
here.
And I'm like, okay.
Like,
yeah. And how lazy on the author's part in at the end of the story. I hate it in books when authors do this. The main character passes out, so then they can just write in like quick exposition how everything was resolved.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. It's like, he passed out, he wakes up at Camp Half-Blood, and Annabeth is like, yeah, I saved Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, don't worry about it. It's like, what?
Yeah, like, how did that go? What state were they in? Did they come willingly? Is there, like, some secret? I don't know. But we didn't get to see any of that, which I would have been more interested in what Annabeth was doing than what Percy was doing.
Yeah.
Percy was just fighting a guy in a blanket.
Did we figure out why the gods got stolen?
I think they're just mad at each other.
That's a bad reason.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all the gods and goddesses in Greek mythology were very petty.
I know, but like,
so
normally
maybe they made fun of his blanket. I don't know.
How do you steal a god?
Well, normally it's like, Zeus, you slept with my wife, or like, Poseidon, you murdered my children. I don't know, children.
They clomped all over my children with horses.
It's like they have like specific grievances, you know. But he was just like, I stole them. Haha.
Yeah, I'm really curious to know like how they stole 3 gods and 3 of the most powerful gods.
Yeah.
At that.
They put Ares in a jar once.
He probably deserved to be there.
Like, genuinely, like, in a mythology, they shoved Ares into a jar and closed the lid, and it took the gods like 6 months to realize he was gone, and to go find him.
That's really funny.
So that was not that didn't take me out of it. I was like, oh yeah, no, makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's like, I wanted a reason other than I'm a bad guy, like.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely want that in a story, but this story had very vague reasoning. And maybe if you're more familiar with the series than we are, there are some hidden motives that just weren't mentioned in this that are actually known in the canon for that universe. I don't know. I just don't have enough knowledge to know if this is for people who are Percyverse fans. How much of the Percyverse do you have to know as a prerequisite to read this story? It's like those 200 level college courses, you know? You have to like have some pre-reading and pre-skills involved that maybe we just don't have.
I don't know, man. All right, do you guys have anything else you want to say about the plot of this?
I don't think so.
Okay, what about the characters?
Percy, in my opinion, was very immature. And I don't like that the author is trying to make him so funny. Like, he kept having, like, these, like, little moments where and he was just trying to be, like, make a joke, and it just kind of fell flat for me. And I felt like they were trying too hard to make him funny.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, every scene, like, every paragraph is him just, like, a little witty thing that he said. I'm like, there's too much. Stop.
Yeah.
And
Percy and Annabeth, like, looking at him like, okay, thanks. And moving on.
I felt really bad for Annabeth. With this portrayal of Percy, I'm like, Annabeth, why are you with him?
Like, what do you
It doesn't seem like he's
guy?
doing you any favors other than being attractive.
And being Poseidon's son. That's about it.
And they were like I felt like this should have just been an action-adventure story. Because like the moments where Percy was like oogling Annabeth seemed very forced.
Yeah.
I don't know if did you guys even pay attention to that?
I didn't know.
Because he was like, her beautiful hair. And then like, I just love hugging her and staring at her. And I'm like, well, that's great, Percy, but this isn't a romance. And there wasn't enough romance for it to be a true romance.
No.
Yeah.
It was just like weird ramblings of a hormonal boy.
Yeah. And considering Annabeth was like almost standoffish with him. Like, she just wasn't always like, he seemed more affectionate, or maybe that he liked her more. I don't know. I just didn't get that Annabeth and him were in a relationship. It was just more Percy pining after her.
Yeah, and she just tolerated him.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And I don't know if that's because this story was in first person, and we can get more into that when we talk about the writing. But yeah, it was so much about him. But when a story is in first person, you need to also like show what the other characters are doing and we didn't really see what Annabeth was doing too often. No. Yeah. To like justify their quote-unquote relationship.
And that happened even if it wasn't with the relationship. Like, there was a like, during that big battle where all three of them were fighting three different people, like, Percy, like, looked down and he was like, oh, Annabeth! And then they didn't say what Annabeth was doing, and I was like, why did he say her name? Like,
I think it was... Oh, sorry.
Like, she was totally fine. Like, I don't understand what happened there.
Yeah, at one point she was holding his hand before they started fighting, and then Ganymede was holding his hand. And I'm like, is Annabeth fighting somebody, or is she finding the gods? Like, what's happening? Right. And then also with Ganymede, like, what's happening with him?
Yeah.
There's so much going on, and to me, as a single person's perspective, it's just very confusing.
Definitely.
There's a lot happening. This story needed more, and it... Oh my god, I don't want to say the story needed to be longer, but it needed to be longer.
No, because I think what this author literally did, and somebody wrote in the comments, is they took the actual author's writing style and plot style and like formula for a Percyverse book, because there's definitely a formula that author uses in each book, because it's pretty much the same book over and over again. And this author took that formula and just condensed it and took all of the pieces out of it. I feel like that description, real character development, real dialogue that built the story instead of just told them where they had to go next. Mm-hmm. And just took all of those things that envelop you in the story and took them out and condensed them into just the action points to keep it short. Because this, I mean, it could have been like a whole story, but they took out so much of it that could have really built it up and made it a good story. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any more on characters? Annabeth was pretty much the same as she usually is. Just like a Hermione type character.
Yeah. Yeah, she was the exposition queen.
Yeah. Total exposition queen. And it's funny because you see this a lot in anime. Like, the main character is an idiot. And then there's another character who's like really smart and like explains things to them. And then that's like the author's way of explaining things to the audience.
You've always got to have an idiot.
Yeah, you've always got to have an idiot. But the bad thing is it's always the main character. So it's like, come on, guys, like, make the idiot the side character and the main character explain it to them. Like, we know what you're doing. You're trying to give us information without explicitly showing us that you're giving us information.
Yeah.
But they didn't do it right. So the trope was, like, very obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Should we move on to writing?
Yeah. We've already kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
But, wow.
Wow. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing I've read.
Yeah, I mean, their grammar was fine.
Yeah, their grammar was fine.
It's great, like, yay, but there's just no detail. So I just didn't know what was happening.
Yeah. I think the only thing I liked was the first fight scene with the Hydra. I think their style of writing, like, go, 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 I felt the intensity of that fight because they're so go, go, go. But that go, go, go went throughout the entire story. So I don't know if that was good writing necessarily because it's everywhere. It wasn't just reserved to that fight, but I did like that fight scene. Mm-hmm. But that was the only, like, section of writing that I enjoyed.
I just wanted to point out that in one chapter, in chapter 11, it says something about hoping to find an excellent Denny's breakfast buffet, and I'm like, there's a lot of things wrong with that sentence. Number one, Denny's is not excellent, and number two, they're not a buffet restaurant.
No.
So I was like, there's a lot wrong in that little phrase. I'm like, there's no such thing as excellent Denny's.
There was another thing. I'll read it to you. I think this was I think this was when they fell when they took the lightning bolt and they fell wherever that in-between place was. Mm-hmm. And Percy goes, my head cleared up enough to get a clearer look of our surroundings, but it wasn't much better than before. The air was definitely vibrating, though, and playing weird tricks on my eyes. It was like we were nowhere or in between, like the DMV, I guess. I don't see how those two things relate.
Okay.
I thought that was very random. Like DMV, I'm like, I didn't even associate it with the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what? Is DMV short for something in Greek mythology? Or
yeah, like, isn't Percy a teenager? Like, why is he making DMV?
Yeah, I'm like, does Percy, can he drive? I don't know that he can drive. He took a blackjack Pegasus to New York, so...
Who knows what the last book this person read, though, was? Because I'm pretty sure he goes through puberty in the midst of the books.
I think that was one of my big things that I did not like about the writing, was that there was too much description on his part. There was so much internal monologue going on that it took me out. Like, you're in the middle of a fight scene, and then you kind of deviate into something, like his thoughts about something else. And it's just like, it's just so much description or internal monologue, or I don't know what you call it.
Internal monologue. But I mean, when an author writes in first person, they have to find the balance in that character being too bland. Because if they don't have enough internal monologue, it's like it could be anybody. That's the I. Like, at least with this, we get that the I is Percy. Because he has this bad sense of humor. And he thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. But, I mean, I get why they did it, to give him a personality, and he definitely has one. It's just an annoying personality.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but at least he wasn't a bland character. He definitely had... He wasn't if it was my choice, I wouldn't read a first-person character like this, but at least he had a personality for a first-person story. That's a fanfic. Because I usually avoid them in the fanfic world, because they're, like, very Mary Sue-ish and almost, like, self-insertion stories.
Anything else about the writing?
No, I don't think so.
Alright, well, how well did they stick to the fandom?
I think they stuck to it. It's Greek mythology mixed with, other mythologies.
New York.
Mixed with New York. I mean, it's canon to the story, because Olympus is in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they had the Greek gods, and for whatever reason, discussed their Roman counterparts on some occasions, even though they weren't a part of the story.
Which, apparently, as far as I can tell, according to Percy, are like two separate different people?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
It's not even worth getting into. It's just like, it expands the universe and opens it up for the author to go to these other places and explore these other things. I think that's all that really is.
Okay.
But I think it stuck to the fandom pretty well. Percy was Percy. He's kind of like this. I don't remember him being this annoying, but then again, I was like 10 or 11 when I read these. So I probably thought it was ironically cool back then. I don't know. That was like the lull 1 exclamation point 1 phase.
Oh god.
The old memes. Do we want to read some comments?
Yeah.
18 of them. I said there's 18 of them.
Every last one. We have to read every single one.
Audrey Rose said, this thing is a Percy Jackson book. Rick, yo, need to see this? What? That's really weird. Also, someone named Guest said, thank you for the amazing story, Arthur. I think they meant author, but
author, yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
I'd like to think that Arthur from that show has a thriving fanfic career on fanfic.net.
And then Sharon Goswami said, what does it mean?
Someone named Lika said, I really love this. As soon as I finished the series, I thought to myself, I need more. And as soon as I saw this, I immediately clicked on it and read. This is extraordinary. It's so much like Rick's books that one time for a moment I thought this was Rick Riordan's book. Lol, I love this. Please keep working on it. I need more people like you with this creative writing. Thank you.
That's nice.
So this individual finished the entire series of books. So they have all of the Percy Jackson knowledge, which I think filled in a lot of the gaps that we're having here.
Good point. Good point.
So I can understand why they enjoyed it where we were confused.
I'm confused because Bot said, please finish the story. I really want to know how it ends, please. On April 1st, 2020. And, like, isn't that 3 years after this was finished?
They commented that on chapter 20. I thought it was finished in February.
No, it...
Oh, wait, yeah.
Oh,
it finished in February 2020.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
I thought it was finished in 2017, and I was like, what?
So how infrequently did they post?
It sounds like pretty infrequently.
Wow. People followed this?
Yeah.
I just can't follow inactive fanfic. I just can't do it.
Oh, I guess the author's name is Rick. That's what. Okay, never mind. Ignore the first comment that I read then. That makes a little bit more sense.
Okay. Someone named Guest says, if your eardrums burst, it doesn't mean you can't hear.
It's true. My eardrums burst one time and I was fine.
It's just horrifically painful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Anonymous Net said, Tahiti lol. I don't remember Tahiti.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Okay. Okay, the people liked it.
Yeah,
I think all these people must have read the series and were looking for more. So if you already know everything, this is probably right up their alley. Because the characters are just about the same, so they'd get a similar experience to the actual author of the Percy Jackson series' books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they understand it, because I'm still...
I know, yeah, I'm a little...
confused.
Like, I just vaguely remember that series. So I don't even know if my information's accurate, but this author seems to write similarly to what I remember Rick Riordan writing. But I think Rick Riordan had more space in his story to develop characters than this author did. Than the fanfic author.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be lying. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't remember
It was over 10 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Give it a rating?
I think so.
I'm gonna give this story a 1.5 tridents out of 5. Because of all the things that I said, I was very bored. But I don't want to give it a 0 because that's just mean.
Poppy just wants to inflate her numbers.
Their grammar was good. Their writing was fine. It was boring. 1.5.
Yeah, I would give it a 1. I appreciate the effort that the author put into this piece of work. I thought it stuck to the fandom well. But it was pretty fast-paced for me, and there's a lot of characters, so I was confused at a few points, so I would give it a trident? What trident?
I'm like teetering between a 1 and a 1.5. And I think I will give it a 1.5.
Yeah.
1 point for being readable. I think it would have gotten a full 2nd point if I could retain the information in my head, but that extra half point is for the fight scene with the Hydra, because that was fun. But other than that, It was just like a fever dream and things were just happening way too fast and I was just so confused.
Okay. I'm also going to give it a 1.5 because it was nowhere near horrific enough to get a 1 or a 0. But I don't know. It just didn't make any sense to me in the fact that, like, I got the basic gist, but it felt very disjointed and kind of scattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
But obviously, it makes sense if you know the books or
yeah, and you can just
know a
fill
little bit more
in the
about
gaps and whatnot.
Yeah, I think the gaps there were what was throwing me off because I don't know these characters as well as obviously some of the commenters did, and so yeah, 1.5 tridents.
Cool. They didn't get 1s across the board. They got a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Good for them.
Thank you for listening to the Fanfiction Book Club. Our pick this week was The Missing Gods by Zodiacc. You can find this story and more of the author's work on fanfiction.net. Theme song is Funkorama by Kevin MacLeod. You can find more of Kevin's music on incompetech.filmmusic.io/artist/Kevin-MacLeod. The works discussed on the Fanfiction Book Club are not our own. All characters mentioned belong to their original authors. Until next week, bye!